Are you familiar with Columbia University at all?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, founded in 1754, I believe it is, by George II, before the American Revolution, part of the colonial university. Um, Cost of attendance is not cheap. Do you want to take a guess how much per year it
Well, I
costs to go?
accidentally read what you've got in your notes.
Oh, okay. Well, then don't worry
Hang
about
on.
guessing. It's just shy of $90,000 a year. And I think that this,
On American degrees, 4 years as well.
yes.
It's a lot of money.
What would you do with 400 grand? Because I would not get a degree.
No,
I would do something else with
I
it.
would
You're
do
right.
anything else.
Yeah,
I kind of
start a
regret
business.
getting mine, and mine wasn't that expensive.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. Hi folks, sorry to interrupt the video, but I just want to direct your attention to the aesthetics range of merch that we have on the store. These are beautiful images that I think work really well as posters or mugs. So if you want to support us, going over to the merch store at shop.lotus.com is easily the best way other than signing up on the website. How expensive it is to go to Columbia University. And I think that that's worth keeping in mind when you think about what we're about to talk about now, because this is very clearly a class issue. And in fact, recently there was quite an outrage because there have been protests, spoiler alert, there have been protests at Columbia University of Israel and Gaza, as you can quite well expect. Just to be clear, I'm not on Team Israel or Team Gaza. It's foreign land, nothing to do with me. But this has been something that came up in the news because this turns out to have attracted all sorts of rich kids to come and protest in favor of Gaza. There's one particular young lady called Isabel Jennifer Seward, who, when she was a teenager, was driving recklessly and killed an old couple. And the niece of this old couple thought that the only reason she wasn't charged with murder is because she has a rich daddy. Probably some truth to it.
Well, I mean, it's always funny when you see the difference between who gets prosecuted and who doesn't. Like Bruce Jenner, killing that person.
She's at the protests now. And so, well, what's happening at Columbia University? Well, there was a Chaz. You don't need to hear the chanting, not yet, anyway. Yes, there is a Columbia Autonomous Zone that has been set up, a liberated area of one of the most expensive universities on earth.
So it's a Kaz rather than a Chaz. There's no hate.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, it is. Hundreds of students are there in their Palestinian garb.
LARPing, yeah.
Yeah, LARPers, people who have real problems.
Sorry, this happened like in the last week.
Yeah.
They're wearing masks.
Yeah, they aren't wearing masks. That's correct.
It tells you a lot about their politics, doesn't it? Just at a glance, if they're wearing the headscarves and the masks, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it is kind of crazy that still in 2024, it is socially conformable to wear the mask. That makes you a social person.
There is certainly a contagion in this crowd, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's quite what they're prepared against.
I haven't seen someone in England doing that for at least a year.
Or probably more. I mean, I don't really remember the last time I saw.
See,
people in the US are still doing this.
Well, no. College students in the US are still doing this because it's part of it. It's about
people.
It's about showing you're a pro-social person, whereas an anti-social person doesn't wear the mask. But it's not universal. I mean, you see that some people aren't wearing masks, but it's a pretty tried and true formula that we've seen at this point. Wealthy college students pretend to care about something on the other side of the world and hate Israel. I don't know what else to say about that. Anyway, so I mean, it is a weird cult. Here's them chanting late at night. In fact, I'll let you listen to this one.
Out of the camp! Out of the camp! One step forward! One step forward! Another step forward!
Cha-cha real soon.
We ask that you please respect our privacy and our community guidelines which you have so far disrespected
YouTube
and leave our camp. One step forward.
I would love for the person doing that to say, I am a free-minded individual who doesn't repeat anything that other people tell me to. I think for myself.
It's literally Life of Brian. We're all individuals. But I love that they have community guidelines, like the nature, the Californication of everything, where everything has to have safe community guidelines, just so embedded in the institutions at this point.
The human embodiment of YouTube here.
Yeah.
So like, also, why would you refer to it as community guidelines as well?
These people are a product of the digital age where they have community guidelines. So they view community guidelines as kind of the divine writ that has come down, that if you violate, well, you're a bad person. And you see this all the time. You know, the Alex Jones was suspended from YouTube for violating community guidelines. Oh, no, did he? Oh, well, now I know Alex Jones is a bad person. I don't give a fuck about your community guidelines.
Isn't it just a social contract, really? That's what they mean by it.
Well, yeah, but it's just as if the community guidelines are like important outside of outside of the social media platform. But anyway, so as funny as these people are, and they are funny, I have to say, they aren't very friendly. What I loved about this, and we'll watch some of this, is that they identified a Zionist who had infiltrated the zone. Well, another thing as well. On this one, like you're violent.
Zionist, or like the Labour Party, where it's Zio's got to go now.
Well, obviously, it's the Zio's got to go down. I mean, like, how do you think they identified the Zionist?
Yeah,
like there's a way to identify what they call Zionists, and it's exactly that. But what I loved about this as well is like you're violating our privacy. It's like you're in public. What are you talking about?
Well, they're also being filmed.
You're also occupying this university. Like this isn't a private event. I don't know what to tell you, but I guess they are. But anyway, yeah, let's see how we identify the Zionists, shall we?
Attention, everyone. Can I get everyone to form a human chain right here, please? We have Zionists that are...
Need some muscle in here.
Mind check! Repeat after me. We have Zionists. Who have entered the camp. We are going to create a human chain. Where I am standing. So that they do not pass this point. And infringe upon our privacy. And try to disrupt our community.
The Zionist-free community, you see.
That was so incredibly cringeworthy.
Yeah.
I kind of miss the stabby, violent protesters from the old days that burnt down Berkeley because Milo showed up.
Yeah, they were at least less cringe.
Yeah.
This is just embarrassing. I mean, Zionists are against the community standards, understood.
Pinning the nose on the Zionist? I mean, sincerely.
No,
like...
it's just a yellow star, Callum.
Okay.
But
they didn't say how they knew they were a Zionist.
No, of course not.
So
but the thing is that I haven't got it for this one because it took place at Yale. But there was a very Orthodox Jewish-looking man just being corralled by a bunch of pro-Palestine protesters. And he's like, I'm trying to get across the campus, so I go to university here. And they're like, no. So why?
Not anymore, you don't.
Yeah, exactly. It's literally because he looks Jewish. And we had this thing in London of the police saying, oh, I mean, might well cover this later on the week. So the response to that's been ridiculous. Because the police officer was like, oh, you're openly Jewish. Like, oh, right, okay.
So this reminds me, because when Andy was here the other day, he was mentioning, because there's no Trump rallies to attack anymore, Antifa got kind of bored and have just clatched on to the Palestine stuff.
Yeah.
So are now just going after Jews because, I mean, these people just kind of want to beat someone up.
Yeah. Basically. And they really, I mean, it's one thing being like, I don't like Zionists, but why would you tell Zionists to go back to Poland exactly? This is pretty great. Well, not great, but it's a good example of.
You have a culture. You be creative. All you do is call it culture. Who was here first? We were here first.
So the bitter irony of wearing other people's cultural garb while saying to other people you have no culture.
Yeah, and go back to wherever you've come from, says the person with the foreign accent. Okay. But as you can see, I'm starting to think maybe this isn't about Zionism as a philosophy. I'm starting to think maybe they just hate the people that Zionism refers to.
Yeah, I mean, you know what the go back to Poland reference is, right?
Yeah, Auschwitz.
No.
Oh, no?
No, so after the Second World War...
Oh, yeah, I know lots of them come from Poland.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
It's the fact that why are we giving up our land to these Europeans who've just set up?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. But they're you know, they're not exactly retiring types, and this again it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, you can say we don't like Zionism, but like,
so Hamas are a prescribed terrorist organization in Britain, at least. And
I'm pretty sure they're going to be in America as well. I mean, I didn't check it, but I can't imagine.
I can do that right now.
I mean, we don't have the same prescription though. That doesn't even make sense. Like prescribed in the UK, for example, you can't offer moral support for terrorist groups. So yeah, this would be a crime in and of itself.
Oh yeah, in America they're going to have the First Amendment. So.
Yeah, in the United States you can do what you want.
Right. But I'm sure they're still going to be considered to be a terrorist group. But anyway, so it's not great. And I mean, you know, like we've got this guy Al Qassam's next targets, and it's like, right. Just, I mean, I love that it's a white woman with that as well, with a Palestinian mask on.
She's not covering her hair. What's she doing?
Yeah, I know. But anyway, I mean, she's at least covering her face, so she's not spreading COVID.
To be fair, leftists do need to cover their face more.
So, I mean, technically, none of that was violence or aggression. So, technically speaking, when an NBC journalist goes there and says, our team spent long hours reporting on and around Columbia's campus on Thursday and Friday. I want to clear some stuff up. I didn't see a single instance of violence or aggression on the lawn of the student campus. The student-led protest was peaceful and often very quiet. It's like, okay, in a sort of technical manner, yes. But in another manner, you could suggest that that's perhaps an environment of intimidation if you happen to be a Jewish person, which is certainly how the rabbi at Columbia University took it. Rabbi Eli Buchler, who's associated with the campus, just told the 300 Orthodox Jewish students, look, just stay home. Don't come in because it may cause trouble, which honestly I think has probably got some real roots to it.
By the way, Hamas are considered a terrorist organization in the US, according to the State Department anyway.
Yeah, I didn't think to check it because I just assumed that would be the case. Anyway, so this is the president of Columbia University, Nemat Shafiq, who is known as Manouche. I'm actually not sure why she's known as Manouche. I'm sure it lists it, but I just didn't see it. She's a very interesting person. She's an Egyptian-born American economist who's been serving as the 20th president of Columbia University since July 2023. So she was born in Alexandria. At 4, she had to flee to the United States because the military government was persecuting her father and took her father's property. She joined the World Bank and at the age of 36 became the World Bank's youngest ever vice president. Then she became the director of the London School of Economics. Then she became the deputy governor of the Bank of England and got a life peerage in 2020 from the Conservatives.
That's quite a prestigious...
Yeah, and then in 2023 became the president of Columbia University. So, okay, that's interesting. And she was called for a congressional hearing. And, well, let's watch a little bit of this.
You realize that at some of these events, the slurs and the chants have been F the Jews, death to Jews, F Israel, no safe place, death to the Zionist state, Jews out. You don't think those are anti-Jewish?
Completely anti-Jewish, completely unacceptable.
So you changed your testimony on that issue as well? So there have been anti-Jewish protests.
I didn't get to finish my sentence. So what I was going to say was there were protests that were called
That's not what you were asked. You were asked, were there any anti-Jewish protests? And you said no.
So the protest was not labeled as an anti-Jewish protest.
I'm not asking what it was labeled.
Anti-Israeli government policy.
The question wasn't what it was labeled.
But anti-Semitic incidents happen, or anti-Semitic things.
Okay. I mean, I'm someone who's watching from very far away, but this looks like a pretty anti-Semitic protest to me.
Mm-hmm. I don't know whether it's just the Brit in me, but it was winding me up how rude she was being, questioning her. Just like, you don't need to be that rude. Sorry, tangent.
But yeah, so Ilhan Omar,
of course, she's there.
Obviously, cross-questioned her, and
I have seen we have had pro-Israeli demonstrations on campus.
No.
But
just
not,
a protest that was
not,
against Muslims.
No, I have
you
not
seen one
that.
against Arabs?
No, I have not.
Have you seen one against Palestinians?
No, I have not.
Have you seen one against Jewish people? Have you seen a protest saying we are against Jewish people?
No, I have seen.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. There has been a rise.
That's all you need to know about that. Did the sign explicitly said we hate Jews? No. Well, then it's not an anti-Jewish protest, is it? Even if, a Zionist is infiltrated, etc., etc.
It's a high bar from Ilhan Omar.
Yeah. But even Biden, whoever handles Biden, had to come out and condemn this and say, well, look, every American has the right to peaceful protest. But calls for violence and physical intimidation targeting Jewish students in the Jewish community are blatantly anti-Semitic, unconscionable, and dangerous. I mean, like I said, this is not normally a subject I want to talk about, but this is pretty crazy. Like, pro-Hamas chants on the thing is a bit bonkers. So even the deputy press secretary of the White House had to come out and be like, yeah, Biden's actually not pro this.
Cool, but the anti-Semitic remarks was sincerely the position of the White House.
Yes, actually, that is precisely it, actually. That's exactly it. Anyway, so on Friday, the new Chaz here was broken up by the police, so I won't bother playing in the video. And all students at the encampment were suspended. So that's over 100 students that were suspended from the university.
Beautiful.
I know, finally.
I wish that would happen any other time.
Well, it's interesting how far this had to go. It had to literally be Hamas chants and be like, I think we've got to suspend them now. Yeah, I think we're going to have to suspend these people.
To be fair, if they were chanting death to white men, they probably would have been offered a scholarship. So,
well,
that's what I'm thinking. Like, imagine those guys. I mean, imagine how many we'd have to suspend. Oh, it'd be beautiful.
But do you know what's interesting? Really interesting. I was watching the Democracy Now! Coverage of this, and they were talking about who was suspended. And one of the people there was Ilhan Omar's daughter.
Oh, really?
Which puts into perspective, the class level of Somalia's first senator, or congresswoman, sorry, and why she's like, well, did the banner say we hate all Jews? No, that's it then. Very.
How can she be on a hearing when her own daughter was attending the protests in question
and was suspended?
Yeah,
was broken up. Yes.
Oh, dear.
But you can see why she's so adamant that the Nazis were indeed socialists because they had socialist in the name, right? Which is literally her argument. Well, if it doesn't say death to all Jews on the thing, then we're not calling for the death to all Jews. But anyway, so the question is, well, why are the students doing this? And of course, the answer is professors, radical professors who ginned up the students and who have caused all of this problem. The Columbia and Barnard chapters of the American Association of University Professors has issued a joint statement condemning the Columbia president Minouche Shafiq's crackdowns on student-led pro-Palestinian protests. What the hell was she supposed to do?
She's being called before Congress.
Yeah, like you've literally got them chanting, yeah, we want Tel Aviv burnt to the ground. We love Hamas, and we're not letting Zionists on the campus.
Zio's got to go.
Yeah, like, what did they think she was going to do?
Probably double down.
But
when they usually do.
Well, sure, but the thing is, you can tell that Minouche isn't one of these people, right? She's a part of the globalist world controller class that's bounced around from, blah, 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 and is trying to instantiate like a global liberal order. She's not an insane leftist radical who wants to disestablish the state of Israel,
She's too plugged into the system to be protesting it, right?
Exactly. And so this is why she's kind of squirming in Congress, like, well, technically they didn't say death to all Jews on the sign, but it is obviously an anti-Semitic protest. I'm really sorry to have to say it. I'm Egyptian. But
well, to be fair, the Egyptians were shooting down the rockets for Israel, weren't they? So
yeah. I mean, the Egyptians have done nothing for the Palestinians. But in the statement, I love this. We are shocked at Minutia's failure to mount any defense of the free inquiry central to the educational mission of a university and democratic society, and her willingness to appease legislators seeking to interfere in university affairs. What are you talking about? Sorry, free inquiry? This is a weird cult protest.
It's a fact-finding. Yeah, it's a fact-finding mission. I don't know what you saw.
Get off of our campus, Zionist. Like, what are you talking about? She has demonstrated flagrant disregard of shared governance in her acceptance of partisan charges that anti-war demonstrators are violent and anti-Semitic, and in her unilateral and wildly disproportionate punishment of peacefully protesting students. Right? I think it's pretty proportionate that if a few hundred students take over, and I am going to say I think they are anti-Semitic, that they get suspended from the unbelievably expensive university that their rich parents have sent them to. I think that's actually really proportionate. So I don't know what to say about that. But of course, this is not new. This is just a recreation of Marcuse's radical students, which you can of course go over to the website and learn about, because we've covered this in depth. But this isn't new either. Like, the whole thing, it's just an echo of what happened in like 2016 and 2017. It's just now they have another cause. But I mean, at least this cause feels more real, right? At least there's something actually happening here, unlike the oppression of white people on university campuses or whatever.
I do miss the feminist cringe compilations from 2016, though. They were a lot more funny than these ones.
But the thing is, this sort of stuff has been happening since the 60s. And in fact, those students, I did have a clip I should have brought up. One of the students was like, well, we've got a long history of doing this. We were protesting in the 60s about some nonsense. They were protesting in the 60s. And so it's like, okay, well, you know, you've got a bunch of professors who are not going to be punished for inciting their students to do this. The students have done it. The students have been punished. But the underlying philosophy is still a core part of the system itself. It's still in every classroom. Well, not every classroom, but it's still in the classrooms. It's still being pumped into the soft heads of the students, as Yuri Bezmenov would have put it. Are you ever going to do anything about that? Which, of course, I doubt they will.
If you appreciated that episode from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content on the site, such as the Epoch series, this episode on Savonarola. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Twitter at lotuseaters_cob on Twitter. Thank you and goodbye.